It's been another tumultuous day at Hawthorn. They had a massive win on the weekend, but it's only taken a few days for the family feud at the family club to erupt.
It was a dramatic development today, Ed, with Justin Reeves standing down as chief executive, and at the same time, not surprising in the overall scheme of events that have now been unfolding for 8 months publicly after the Hawthorn racism investigation. That's Justin Reeves there, the taller of those two gentlemen there. And he had been under enormous pressure leading into this over his and his club's handling of the investigation into racism. And I can tell you tonight that the Hawthorn board, Ed, had in recent times decided to conduct a review into its operations, and there's
a review into the review.
A review into the review and a review into other matters of the football club's runnings. There's a reading of the wind component to this decision being made today by Justin Reeves, and even prior to Ash Klein being announced as the interim CEO, he currently having the COO role, he had been told that he would be standing in for Justin Reeves when he was to go on a holiday in coming weeks as well. So the events of today, dramatic in their isolation of today, but expected in the eyes of many around the football industry, given what has happened.
OK, let's listen to Andy Gowers, the president of the Hawthorn Football Club on 3AW tonight.
The reality is that everybody associated with this situation is hurting. You heard today with Justin's words, you know, the toll that this has had on him, the toll it's having on all of us. We all feel it to different degrees. We saw the outcome of that for Alastair personally last week.
Yeah, the toll on people in football. Also tonight, former President Jeff Kennett had this to say, a slightly different take on 3AW.
I think it's the pressures on the CEO that have been applied to him, not only on the investigation but on internal matters. But no, it was a lot more than just the Indigenous issue, and I'm sorry for Justin.
I mean, to talk about a toll on the Hawthorn Football Club when it comes to this, my phone hasn't stopped since this happened today, and that line is being trotted out, that there's a toll for the club. Yes, there is, and yes, there is sympathy for what Justin Reeves and others at Hawthorn are going through, but that club and their investigation and the manner it was handled and then left with the AFL to mop up has created a toll for so many other people outside of their control that most people outside of footy tonight, Ed, have got more sympathy for those people than what's happening inside the Hawthorn Footy Club tonight.
Is Jeff a bit concerned that his man, Justin Reeves, is out now and he's got no control at Hawthorn?
Well, there's a
over the narrative?
Yeah, there's a de-Kennetising of the Hawthorn Footy Club. This is the latest step, and it may be the last step required in that regard. And again, I find the hypocrisy of Jeff Kennett, the way he has handled this publicly in the last 2 weeks. I mean, complaining about the AFL's handling of the investigation when they were given a set of information that didn't even have the responses to the allegations made in racism. Let's
have a look at a tweet that Jeff Kennett put out this morning, which raised the ire of Luke Hodge, the superstar former captain. Very sad to see Damian Barrett leave the field. He's been a remarkable success for Richmond and the AFL. He will be missed by calling time on himself when he felt necessary, with his reputation intact and saluted by all of the industry. His legacy only enhanced. Thank you. Here's what his former premiership captain had to say about that not long after it went to Twitter.
There was no need for him to put that end part in, because it was clearly anyone with half a brain could realise that he was having a dig at Clarko, and I thought that was very, very poor taste from someone who should know better.
Lloydie, when you see those comments from Luke Hodge, that's more than just a captain and a coach relationship sticking up for each other.
Yeah, it's quite sad, obviously, seeing so many relationships breaking down. They did so many great things together, but he's seeing a dig being had at Alastair Clarkson through trying to make a tweet about Damian Barrett. What I will say, though, Damian Barrett, former teammate of mine, had a text exchange yesterday. He did make the point that going out when he has him loving Richmond and Richmond still loving him. So
got to do that.
Yeah, so it's
got to do that.
That's what potentially Jeff was getting at.
And just more on the backdrop of that whole issue, with the Kennett and Reeves alignment, that really took force even prior to the investigation into racism. It took force, as we know, in the lead up to Clarkson being moved out of the club and Mitchell being taken on, and Clarkson to be then paid $1 million or thereabouts to not coach the club last year. Reeves and Clarkson did not have a relationship to speak of any positive nature in the lead up to all those decisions being made. And obviously Luke Hodge has a line of sight on all of that and the build up to that, and obviously the aftermath.
It's not that long ago that Hodge and Clarko were at each other too on there. So there you go. My enemy's enemy is my friend. Comes back to have another go.
Can I ask quickly, Damo, do you think that's it? Like, as in, like, often when a big thing happens like this, that there's four guys and there's people that they'll go after before moving on. Do you think that's the end of it?
Can I jump in on it?
Yeah.
We haven't even got started on this yet. The legal the legal wars that are going to happen down at Hawthorn is going to just tear this club apart.
But who does that fall on to next then? The board? Does it fall on who?
There will be board members that I feel need to have questions. Andrew Gow, as being the fresh face of it, is well aware, and as we can see with the decision today, which he obviously oversaw, is part of that start process.